Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
If you're an entrepreneur and your business is not yet registered, if you're looking to grow your registered business, or you're an accomplished professional, our Elevate program supports you with access to finance, access to markets, access to capacity building. Sign up now or refer a friend at ecobank.com/elevate. Elevate by EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Santa Yala.
Nga xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Now, last Thursday, Esam Baifal was our guest. And in explaining why he walked away from the Coalition 2026 process, the APP Sobeya leader had some pointed things to say about the Unite party. Well, Unite asked for the opportunity to respond, and we believe that is only fair. So this morning, we begin with Kemo Bojang, spokesman for Unite, who is here to respond to what Esa Fall said, but also to tell us what Unite itself wants Gambians to know as the country moves towards the December presidential election. And that distinction is important. This isn't simply an exercise in pushing back at one politician's criticisms. Gambians want to know what the various opposition parties stand for, what kind of government they propose to build, and whether their promises can translate into better lives for ordinary people. So we'll talk about Unite, its political ambitions, its relationship with the wider opposition, accountability and governance, the economy, the cost of living, and what the party believes should change after December. Kemo, good to see you again, and welcome to Coffee Time.
Once more, it's a pleasure to be here. I think I'm a frequent guest now.
Yes. You're becoming part of the furniture. Huh?
Yes.
Very good. We're not complaining. We're not complaining.
It's a pleasure.
You are very articulate, it has to be said. Let's begin with the reason you're here.
Yes.
Esam Baifal made a number of criticisms of Unite when he was here last Thursday.
Yes.
What, in your view, did he get wrong about Unite, and what do you want Gambians to know about the party's position, Unite's position?
Oh, well, Peter, thank you very much for having me once more. And whilst it's a disappointment that we have to get to this point, it's not also surprising. We understand that losing can sometimes be difficult. We understand that not having things your way when you're used to having everything your way can also, make people feel a certain way. But you know who I don't envy in this country today? Is Talib Ahmed Bensouda.
Why?
Talib's only crime has been being ambitious, being audacious, being ready to effect change and not wait for it. And this, unfortunately, in our society or in our reality is a crime. Because if people feel that you are going out of your way to get what you want, they feel you are a threat to them. And today, unfortunately, Unite has been the center of a lot of discussions, not just by the ruling party, but even within the opposition camps. We're not complaining because, we understood what we were getting into when we signed up to become opposition politicians. And this is something that we're used to because we have always been opposition politicians. But there are a lot of fundamental things that we feel that we need to clarify, especially on the basis of the process in itself. Now, for the process, I'm happy that Professor Mbalo, who is the chairman of the CMC, which is the Coalition Mediation Committee, has come out to say that investigations have been done and nothing, absolutely nothing was found against Unite. Because like I mentioned in multiple interviews, when we got into that room, we made allies, we made colleagues, and we were able to build associations. Now, if someone comes into that room and feels that he has an ego, he's bigger than everybody and doesn't associate, whilst you need the individuals within that room to vote for you, then election day comes and they don't, and then you become a loser who is sore, that just complicates issues. But I've always continued to say that within or amongst Unite and APP Sobeya, we do not have any problems. This is a personal issue that someone had ambition, and his ambition didn't go through, and he feels that now he needs to go out of his way to make everybody look bad. Notwithstanding, Coalition 2026 is poised to contest the elections, and we're hopeful that the Gambian people will listen to our message and will buy what we're selling. We have seen how Lord Mayor Talib Ahmed Bensouda was in URR this weekend, and how he was able to sell the position of Coalition 2026. And we have gathered a lot of support, we have gathered a lot of goodwill from especially young people and women of URR, and especially also the older generation, because Unite and Coalition 2026 has always been seen as the party of the young people. Absolutely. So if you see elders now embracing the movement or the party and the coalition in itself, I think that's positive. We have a lot of respect for Mr. Fall, and we'll continue to have respect for him because we do believe that he is a good son of the country. Now, if his position towards us has changed, our position towards him wouldn't change. We do not feel that an episode within a political trajectory or within a political discussion should be able to define how we feel about individuals, because we have had goodwill within us or amongst us. We have worked on a lot of projects together, even during the supplementary registration. APP Sobeya couldn't feel how do you call it? Observers. Agents and observers. At the time, we didn't have our certificate as a registered party. We collaborated with APP Sobeya and gave our individuals accreditation for APP Sobeya. These are inter-party positions and bipartisanship that we need to look into. Within the opposition, Unite is poised to bring everybody on board. So we do not feel that it is a necessity to sit and say who said what, when, where, and why. It adds very little value onto where the Gambian people stand and what the Gambian people need to hear. Mm-hmm. The Gambia is currently in a failed state. The Gambia needs answers to problems we're facing. If politicians, and especially elderly politicians like Mr. Fall, feel that he has a point to prove by going personal, we are not going to follow that trajectory. We want to give the Gambian people an opportunity to have hope, to have ambition, and to be like Talib Ahmed Bensouda and Unite. That no matter how you have been sacrificed, no matter how much you have been annihilated, no matter how much you have been, dismissed, be ready, be positioned, and go out and get what you want. The Coalition 2026 has finished its process. Talib Ahmed Bensouda has been declared as candidate. The process has been validated by the individuals who should validate it, especially the chairperson. And if Mr. Fall still feels that he hasn't given up on his positions, that's up to him. But our doors are open. We are ready to continue working on the process we all began. And going forward, we feel that this should be a chapter that is closed. We have made a lot of clarifications on this issue, and we feel that he has made some accusations like the interference of family. He has made accusations of bribery and corruption. He has made accusations on the process in itself. On the process, I don't feel we have any position to answer. I think the CMC should be the ones to answer that, because the accusation was towards them, because they built the process. Now, for Unite, like every political party will do, we went out and canvassed for votes. The process had said, build a consensus. This is why we went to Mr. Fall himself. So if we come to your house, you invite us over, you serve us dinner, we have a conversation, we're jolly, we wanted to go home, you told us, no, stay and let's continue discussing. I will even drop you home. He dropped us home. For him to come back and say that he felt disrespected by that meeting for us is really surprising, considering that we found that as goodwill. So these are all issues that, we feel, we didn't expect. And for him to go on to say that he would even change the constitution to make Talib prime minister if Talib was willing to yield his position, I think reeks of desperation, in my opinion. But notwithstanding, we don't want to go that route. We don't want to dignify hearsay discussions. We want to focus on what Unite and Coalition 2026 will deliver to the Gambian people. We want the discussions now to be on that. In fact, when Unite began, this is what we said. We said we wanted to change the trajectory of politics in this country. We said we wanted to elevate the conversation. We said we wanted to give people hope and ambition. And
hopefully we'll get to that. But let's just finish on one other thing about Essa.
Mm-hmm.
He argued in effect that the opposition's failure to unite risks, handing victory to President Barrow in December. And does Unite accept any responsibility for the failure to achieve the kind of broad opposition coalition that was originally envisaged?
Well, I think
let's remind ourselves that you went in as 21 parties.
Yes.
Ultimately, it was about 9-10 that signed the Coalition 2026 agreement?
We went into in the beginning, we had 7 parties. Then movements and CSOs were invited, and now I think we're around 11 or 12. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, because we've gotten two.
But during the negotiating process, there was a time when you went up to 21. The count was 21 at least.
Yes, I believe so. I'm not sure exactly how much we were, but yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it's that fracture that he's saying risks handing victory easily to.
I think
to Barrow in December.
If he feels that,
the question is, do you feel that Unite, has some responsibility in bringing that fracture about?
Every opposition party needs to take responsibility at some point, but Mr. Fall has most responsibility on this because he is the only one who walked out fearing of losing a contest.
But the UDP had walked out earlier.
They walked out earlier. At least their working out was based on principle. But he walked out on the final day because he felt he was going to lose a contest. So I think he has more responsibility to bear. But generally, I feel, secondly, also that now that the majority has sided with the position, if he is indeed for unity, he is indeed for an opposition coalition, I think then he needs to come back and join the Coalition 2026, because this is a process that we all started. Okay. But Coalition 2026 is not our project, it's a national project, and everybody is welcome to join the process. And in fact, we're still doing outreaches. In fact, we're still meeting opposition parties who were part of it and no longer part of it to come back to the process. We're also meeting parties who from the initial stage we are not part of it. And now that we have a candidate and we have goodwill amongst ourselves, we are reaching out to them to see how best do we bring them forward.
Okay. From your point of view, whether personal or from the party's point of view, Esam Baifal walked out because he knew he was going to lose. His reason was because he made a proposal that your camp, Unite in particular, didn't like.
Which is
this vice president.
In fact, that's surprising because his delegates didn't tell him the truth. Because in fact, Unite was the only entity willing to compromise on that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Dembo Kante was the one who said, in fact, we're ready to make it a priority that the second place holder is considered. Every other person in the room said no. Unite was the only one ready to compromise on that. And then later on they came and said no, they want it to be an effect. So we told them if that becomes generally, not Unite, but generally the General Assembly told them that in that effect, then we are overriding the Constitution, because the Constitution gives the mandate to the president to appoint his vice president. Now, what we can do is that we can make this a priority consideration, that the person who comes second becomes considered to become vice president. But they wanted it to be engraved in stone and to be a legally binded position. Now, someone like Professor Siddharth Yafa could have also said, I would then become Minister of Agriculture because he's the only known agronomist, professor of agronomy in the country. He could have said that there's another guy who is a lecturer at the university called Pa Ibra Cisse. He could have also said, I'll be Minister of Higher Education. Now, how do you consolidate all of this then? Because you are setting up a precedent that is dangerous. Yeah. The issue of positions shouldn't even be a priority, Uncle Peter. The Gambian people should be the priority and center stage of the discussions. Now, if you are thinking about yourself and which position you are aligned to, I think that in itself is problematic and is where all fractures began to start. And it also reeks of mistrust amongst players and amongst partners. Now, even if I make you vice president, I say, okay, I'll appoint you, and then 2 weeks later I sack you, what can you do about it? Because having it there that you will become VP as a second placeholder is necessarily not a justification or a guarantee. I can sack you after 2 weeks to say that I don't think I can work with you. I have fulfilled my position.
Sure.
So these are all things I think we are not taught through, because it was done in a haste, because you thought, okay, I'm losing the vote, I need to cement my guarantee. But if we all came into that room with goodwill, if we all came into that room with a clear intention, I think it would have made things easier. Now, to also say that we had said that we will not concede in itself is ironic, because the whole idea of getting into a coalition discussion is because you don't know who will become the candidate. Now, parties who didn't even take part in the conversation are the people that would say that I wouldn't concede if I lost if I lost the process. But once you have signed up and you are there with other political entities, that in itself, makes a point. Okay. Mr. Fall has also gone on to say that the movements in that room and belittling them. Mr. Fall is a movement. He had to side with APP, who is a registered party. So if another movement is looking low upon on movements, I think that itself is why he couldn't get the vote of the movements. Because what we had made clear to every entity in that room, especially the movements, was that Unite was a movement before we became a political party. And I was glad that when we got the ticket, one of the stakeholders in that room said that the reason he voted for us, or he decided to vote for Talib, was that we got into that room and understood that we were a movement and aligned with them. Now, even when we became a party, I personally had said it in that room that in as much as we are a party today, last week in this room we were a movement. And that being the case, we are with you and we'll continue to consolidate with you. That built trust. Coalition building is building trust and building allies. And we have gotten to that stage. We went out there, we conversed for consensus, we got a lot of support. And I want to acknowledge people like Esa Bokarsi, Siddharth Yafa, Ibrahim Acham, from Pastor Gambia, Asan Martin, Pamodu Jara, and all other members of the coalition who supported our process, and also my good brother, President Usman Job of the PRP, and everyone who has really held on to the position and made sure that we got here. It took us almost 16 weeks. It was hectic, but it was worth it in the end.
Okay. All right, let's move the conversation away from Esam by File because, as you say, you want to tell people, what Unite stands for, why people should, vote for Unite.
Yeah.
Well, 1 week after Coalition 2026 emerged, Gambia First coalition has also emerged. Mm-hmm. What's the fundamental difference between Coalition 2026, led by your party, Unite, and the others, including Gambia First Coalition? If somebody came to you and said, why should I vote for Coalition 26 rather than Gambia First Coalition?
Uncle Peter, what is ironic is that we all used to be in the same room with almost every entity in that.
I know.
And these are issues that we had raised, that we knew about this WhatsApp group way even when we were in the group in the grander coalition.
What WhatsApp group?
The Gambia First WhatsApp group that was opened by Bakari Tal of the ADD party.
Okay.
So when Malik Kamara came to us to say that he wanted us to join the ADD-led coalition discussions, which is now the Coalition 2026, he made it known to us that he wanted UDP to lead the coalition, and it was very funny because I had raised it to him. I told him, but you are already preempting the process. He said, yes, but that is my position and that is what I want. So we said, okay. We went into that room knowing that we were on the back foot because it was already planned and positioned. The funding of the first meeting that happened in Kairaba Hotel, we know where the funding came from.
Where did it come from?
That is that is internal political maneuvering, so I'll just skip to it. We knew the process was already, designed in a certain way. And to be honest, Malik Kamara was very honest about it also, even though not directly, because he visited Talib and told him, you are young, you have time. We want you to give an opportunity to Alhaji Hussein, who we respect so much. But I was like, Mr. Kamara, the idea that we need to give time is something that I don't understand, because even the person you're vouching for began politics in his 40s and ran for office in his 40s. So if Talib is also in his 40s and can run for office today, how come today age is an issue? And secondly, I think it needs to be based on competence. Nobody's saying that the person you're vouching for is incompetent, but we feel and believe that Talib would be a better president today in 2026. Now, we went into that room. When they realized that not everybody was in line with their position, they began this Gambia First WhatsApp group. Bakari Tal of ADD began adding parties that he felt or entities that he felt were in line with them. Because, in the room, you build consensus. So when you speak to people, you know where they stand. So when we had the vote on the party-led or candidate-led, the group that literally voted for party-led is the group that has started the Gambia First endorsement.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it is their fundamental right, it is their position to hold, and we respect it. We have always known that this race was between Lord Mayor Talia Ahmed Bensouda and Adama Barrow. And I think it is opening up to that. And going forward, I think it will just be clearer to the Gambian people. President Barrow understands this. President Barrow knows that Talib is his only obstacle to a third term. But more of an obstacle is the Gambian public, because the Gambian public is the one who is going to vote.
Okay.
So it is an interesting development, but we acknowledge it, and we hope we are also acknowledged, because politics has to be as dignified as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So let's come back to my question.
Yeah.
The first-time voter who doesn't know the difference between the Unite-led Coalition 2026 and the UDP-led Gambia First Coalition. If he said to you, why should I vote Coalition 2026 rather than Gambia First Coalition?
Yeah.
What would be your answer?
Coalition 2026 is a body that was built through a process that brought established entities within the political spectrum together, who discussed the issue of Gambia, who understood that there was a need for change, or there is a need for change. That being the case, we built consensus and was able to come up with a unified candidate who can, one, unite the Gambia. We feel that the Gambia is very polarized at this point and needs a uniting figure who will bring everybody together. We need a candidate who has a proven track record and has been able to deliver on promises that he has made. We need a candidate who is able to relate with the young people and also respect the old. We need a candidate who has a clearly defined plan and is ready to bring change to the people. Now, the difference between Coalition 2026 and Gambia First endorsement, because I like to call it an endorsement, is that this is a body built by the Gambian people, whereas this one is a body that is endorsing a political party to venture into an election. The difference is there that the political party, while as it has the right to contest its elections, does not reflect the Gambian general public. While as Coalition 2026 reflects the Gambian public, is the body that the Gambian people have always been asking for. Surveys have been done in this country, and people have put their positions across that they want a coalition and not an endorsement. And this is what we have offered to the Gambian people.
Okay, so yours is the coalition.
Is the coalition.
Gambia First
it's
should not be called a coalition. You're calling it an endorsement.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sure Lamin will have a response.
He's my uncle, very good uncle of mine.
We've heard opposition parties promise greater responsibility. Greater accountability.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be responsible. Accountability is the word in play here. What specifically would a coalition 2026 government do in its first 100 days that public, to prove that public office is no longer a route to unchecked power or personal enrichment?
First of all, it will be important that the Coalition 2026 puts forward its agreement, that it is a public document and is viewed by the public, so that the public knows that these are the agreements that parties have agreed to. Because this is what eroded trust with the coalitions 2016. Whereas nobody knew even if there was an agreement or not. But we will hold a general signing ceremony on Thursday where nobody would say, Anna Kate be one muffin ko signing, because that happened in 2016. Secondly, we will also make sure that there's a code of conduct which will also be made public for the president to adhere to in line with the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. Thirdly, we will expect the president to also declare his assets so that the public knows that this is what the president is worth at this certain period of time. Fourth is that we will make sure that government contracts that are going to be awarded will be tendered and will be public tenders. In as much as we do understand that there are needs for closed tenders and all of that, but we want to make sure that transparency takes center stage. Also, in the grand scheme of things and making sure that there is transparency and accountability, it is important that the manifesto of the Coalition 2026 is a document that is built by everyone, because we want people to take ownership. We want people to understand that this is a document they're building. This is a people's contract that we're signing with them, and we will make sure that they take center stage and active role in implementing this. This is why from even during when we were starting the process, we had always said that this is a people's call, and we're answering to the people's call. Yeah.
Okay. Is it only the president who is going to declare his assets, or ministers? Because I didn't hear you mention ministers.
The leadership, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Now, one of the recurring complaints from Gambians is that governments make promises. Adama Barrow has made them. Yahya Jammeh's government had made them. Even Jawara's government had made them about accountability, but rarely hold their own people responsible. This was why when I heard only the president would declare his assets at the beginning, I thought, what about the ministers?
Yes.
If a coalition 2026 minister or senior official is accused of corruption, like we have so often, of this Barrow administration, would you be prepared to see that person investigated, even if doing so politically embarrasses your own government?
Absolutely. We have been open to investigations ourselves, even at council level. So that in itself shows that we are open to accountability and transparency. We believe...
In this case,
yes,
you were subjected to accountability and whatever.
Yeah.
Now, when you are in control and one of your own is accused,
yes, because
even at the point of embarrassing you politically, would you subject them?
To investigation? Because we believe that this is service to the people. It is not service to self. And we also believe that this is why we need strong institutions. There need to be checkmates in place to make sure that people do not override and take ownership of power. And institutions, are one of the ways that we can do it. And secondly, we also need to make sure that people understand that they will be held accountable for their actions. I think that is one of the biggest ways of making sure that there is transparency and accountability. For example, I like to use Lee Kuan Yew as an example in Singapore.
Everybody uses him.
Yeah. If, like he has said, if he holds his friends accountable and his family accountable, then it's open to the general public that you are not going to be spared. I think examples need to be set within the smaller circle in itself or micro circle than even the general public. I think this is why people feel that there's no sense of transparency, there's no sense of accountability in today's Gambia, because we feel that you are protected if you are in a certain circle. Now that needs to change for people to build trust and hope within the system. But that also cannot happen if the institutions we represent are not strong enough. Today, for example, I feel that there have been a lot of opportunities for vote of no confidences to be passed on ministers and even the president by the parliament. But because of the lack of service that they are delivering, because of the scandals that we have been through as a country, because of so many issues that continue to happen. For example, I see no reason why the Minister of Health is still Minister of Health after 60 babies died in this country. In any civilized society, in every country that had laws or that even had an atom of accountability, he should have resigned and not even wait for for the sacking or, being recalled. You talk about the corruption that has happened, with the roads that have been built. These are all things that, we need to look at. You talk about even the 40 million, and to media houses and, and other things.
Our hands are clean. Our hands are clean.
So these are all things that, we need to look at, we need to look into. For example, the OIC project, 100 vehicles were contracted to be delivered. Only 80-something were delivered. Where did the 12 go, for example? These are all issues that need, a lot of investigation where accountability is needed and transparency. But nothing's going to come out of it. Unfortunately, Mr. Banja was the only, sacrificial lamb to be the lone example that when you say, well, where is accountability? And then they say, yeah, but look at what happened to Banja, unfortunately. But a lot has happened in this country. You talk about Ahmad Ba and the eco lodges. Today you go around the country, you see them. These are things that needed, investigation, and people should have answered for them. So, yeah, definitely.